Okay, to become a Catholic priest, there are two ways to go about that. One is a seminary where you get to live in the same building you study and go to Mass at. Typically, if you're studying for a diocese, meaning you're going to be a priest of that diocese, that's typically where you go. You go to a seminary. And you get a bedroom, and classrooms are downstairs or wherever it is, and there's a chapel and a dining room, and it's all there. I didn't go to a diocesan seminary because I didn't become a diocesan. I joined a religious order. It's a family, yeah. And it happens to follow St. Francis, so we're Franciscans, and there's different kinds of Franciscans, and I am a Capuchin Franciscan. But because we're an order, we went to a theological school where we study the same things that a diocesan seminarian in a diocesan seminary study, but we don't live in the theological school. It's just the school. So we lived in our own friary, a house for friars. Friar simply means brother. And then off we went to school, but when classes were over, went back to the friary. So I went to a theological school. I first got my Bachelor's of Arts degree in history from a state university. I wasn't a seminarian yet. And it was only after that I joined the order. And then after a few years of the initial program for becoming a Capuchin, I was sent off to the theological school, which was in Berkeley, California. And it was a wonderful setting because you had 3 Catholic theological schools, one run by the Jesuits, one run by the Franciscans, and one run by the Dominicans. And we had to enroll in one of the 3, and 1/3 of our classes had to come from that school, and 1/3 of our classes had to be from another school, and the other 1/3 could be a mix. So we were enrolled in the Dominican school. So I had a lot of Dominican professors. And some were great, and some were like a lot of you can relate to. You know, you have to drink a lot of coffee when you take their class. But it wasn't just the classroom. It was talking with other seminarians or other theology students. It was being in Berkeley, California. That was an education in itself. One of the most liberal cities in the nation. And of course, there's UC Berkeley right there. And our theology school was affiliated with UC Berkeley, so we could also, you know, take classes there and use their library, and I took advantage of that. So all of that was a great education, but the Dominican professors that I had who were really, really good, really laid a good foundation for me in philosophy and theology. And it was just the foundation because you're only there for 4 years. And so all they can do is give you the foundation, and then it's up to you and if you do it or not. And I've decided to, as a matter of fact, I just finished translating a work by Thomas Aquinas, who was a Dominican. I just translated it into Chamorro, which is quite a challenge, I would say, because even the English is hard to understand. Can you imagine putting it into Chamorro? But they gave me a great foundation and a love for theology that I'll take with me to the grave. And then when I die, I can ask Thomas Aquinas straight to his face, what the heck did you mean by this? And tell it to me in simple terms.